Okay, in this video we're going to talk about another way that Maya helps you to model organic things, and that is based on the concept that most organic, like large animal type things, have what's called bilateral symmetry, which means the left side and the right side of an animal are pretty much the same. Maybe not identical, maybe not exact. That's where, certainly like in a face, where character comes from. But they're by and large the same on one side to the other. And that means that you're basically duplicating your effort. You're modeling one side and then modeling the other. Now, of course, there are some things that live underwater especially that don't necessarily follow that plan. Fish do, but if you get out into the ocean, there's a lot of things, a lot of invertebrates and things like that that don't really follow that plan. But other than that, you can generally count on living things, animals, to have bilateral symmetry. So we've got two different techniques that we can use to help us deal with this, make it go a little faster. So let's get to it. So we'll come in here and create a cube, and we'll turn on the grid. And now we're going to make this a little bigger. Come to the channel box here, and I'm going to set the translate Y to 3. And then come down to the polycube inputs and set all of those to 6. Use our little shortcut like we've done before. Okay, there we go. Nice cube. We'll go to vertex mode. And again, we want to make the vertices bigger. So display, polygons, vertex size, and crank this way up. And get rid of the window. And then use, we'll turn on our tool settings here. We're going to turn off soft select. And then come down to reflective settings, turn on reflection, and set the reflection axes to X, and the reflection to be based on the object, not on the world. So there, that's good. Looks nice. That's what we need. We're going to use let's use the hot box here. So space bar and left click on Maya and go to the front window. And let's make this larger with the A or the F key. Maybe move back a little bit here. Okay, so now we're going to start modeling this. So we'll select some vertices with the marquee tool, and you see the vertices on the other side are selected as well. So now let's grab the translate tool. You see it just shows up on one side, but when we move, well, the vertices on the other side move the same relative to the center line of the object based on the axis that we selected, which is the x-axis. So we can come in here and just start modeling this, and both sides move the same. Now there's some limits to this. You can't use this on, say, extrude, where you create more geometry, but when you're just pushing points and faces around, it works just fine. So you can see we're creating something here. Looks kind of like a face or a start of a torso, or just some sort of organic shape. Could be anything at this point. Okay, so that's good. Now there's another technique that we can use, and that has to do with the fact that since these are both basically the same from one side to the other, you really don't have to model both sides. We can just model half an object and then create the other half. So let's come in here and turn off reflection, and then we're going to right click and choose face mode, and then select all the faces on one side. It's not critical which side, just select all the faces and then delete them. So we can just hit the delete key. So there we go. Now let's go to object mode. So now the the strategy would be you just come in here and model one side of the object and do whatever you want and don't have to even worry about the other side reflecting correctly. And certainly if you were doing lots of extrusions, putting arms and legs and things like that, this way you could do this a little more quickly. And then once you have the side the way you want it, then you can deal with duplicating this to the other side. So we just select the object that we have here, and then we'll come up here to Mesh, and then we're going to select Mirror Geometry. In fact, we're going to select the little square to the right of Mirror Geometry. And here's our parameters. So we've got mirror direction, and we can either do plus or minus X, Y, and Z. Well, what we've got right now is sort of the plus side of the X. If you look below this mirror options window, you see our little X, Y, and Z, and you see the X going off to the right in red. That says what we've got is sort of the positive X. So we want to mirror the negative X, and we want to merge it with the original, and we want to merge the vertices. So it's going to create a mirror image of this with vertices right along that center line, sort of like where the vertices that we have are. And those that are close together, and we'll talk about this in a second, what does close mean, it's going to merge those vertices together to create a continuous object. So that's that. Just click Apply. Well, let's move this aside so you can see it. And here we go. And boom, there it is. Okay. And it's all connected. It's all good. We can close this. So you notice actually here in the channel box we've had a couple other things created here. We've got our poly shape. We've got a number of inputs. And this first input here has this parameter called merge threshold. And that is actually something that says how close did these vertices have to be before I merged them. And this is a setting you can change. If things didn't merge, that meant that, well, this was set at too low a number, that the vertices were actually further apart than what this was set at. If too many merged, that means that number was set too big, and it was merging things within a certain distance, and that distance grabbed too many vertices. And you can come in here after the fact, basically, and change this to make it do what you want it to do. And you have to play around with that a little bit to get the idea of how that works. And there's a number of other parameters here, that don't really have as much value for us right at this moment. I guess one thing to take away from this is that when you're doing these operations like this, you do get more little sections down here in the inputs. And to some extent, this is a lot like in the attribute editor. We've mentioned that sometimes when you do things, you get extra tabs across the top. This all has to do with the fact that really this is a sequence of operations going on in Maya, and it keeps track of those, certainly until you select delete history. But that's that. We've got our symmetry that we can use. We've got just basically mirroring an object from one side to the other. That's useful. Remember, symmetry won't work with things like extrusion where you're creating additional geometry, but mirror will. So that's it for this video. We can stop it now, and we'll see you in the next one.